my senses.
AFP Fred before China's President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump attend a welcome ceremony at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Donald Trump urged Chinese leader Xi Jinping to work hard and act fast to help resolve the North Korean nuclear crisis during talks in Beijing Thursday, warning that time is quickly running out. Speaking on the second day of a trip to Beijing marked by pomp and pageantry, Trump also decried China's one-sided and unfair trade surplus with the United States but told Xi, "I don't blame China," as the two countries signed more than $250 billion in business deals. Xi hosted Trump at the imposing Great Hall of the People, next to Tiananmen Square, for the main event of the U.S. president's five-nation tour of Asia. While the two leaders exchanged pleasantries in keeping with their professed friendship, with Trump calling Xi a very special man, the former property magnate made clear that he expected China to do more to rein in North Korea. "We must act fast. And hopefully China will act faster and more effectively on this problem than anyone," Trump said, while thanking Xi for his efforts to restrict trade with Pyongyang. "China can fix this problem easily and quickly, and I am calling on China and your great president to hopefully work on it very hard," the U.S. leader said. "I know one thing about your president: if he works on it hard, it will happen. There's no doubt about it." The U.S. administration thinks China's economic leverage over North Korea is the key to strong-arming Pyongyang into halting its nuclear weapons and missile programs. AFP Gal Romeshi said the two countries reiterated their firm commitment to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and the implementation of UN resolutions. He also repeated his plea for the issue to be resolved through negotiations, saying China was ready to discuss the pathway leading to enduring peace and stability on the peninsula. Though China has backed UN sanctions, U.S. officials want Chinese authorities to clamp down on unauthorized trade along the North Korean border. But experts doubt China will take the kind of steps that Trump wants, such as halting crude oil exports to the north. Beijing fears that squeezing Pyongyang too hard could cause the regime to collapse. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said there are signs that sanctions are creating some stress within the North Korean economy, but that Xi told Trump they could take a little while to have an effect. Trump, who may meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin at an APEC summit in Vietnam on Friday, also urged Russia to help rein in this potentially very tragic situation. Trade Washington has made no secret of its frustration at China's massive trade surplus with the United States, but at a signing ceremony for over $250 billion in Chinese business deals, including $37 billion worth of planes from Boeing, Trump said he did not blame Beijing. After all, who can blame a country for being able to take advantage of another country for the sake of its citizens? However, he pointed the blame at past U.S. administrations for allowing this out-of-control trade deficit to take place and to grow. AFP Jim Watson. Children waved national flags before the arrival of the two leaders. The Trump administration has aggressively pursued trade remedies in commercial relations with Beijing, investigating Chinese trade practices on intellectual property and in aluminium and steel. "There has been some friction on bilateral trade," Xi said. "But on the basis of win-win cooperation, we hope we can solve these issues in a consultative way." While U.S. and Chinese officials played up the deals, several of them were non-binding memorandums of understanding, which can take years to materialize and never become firm contracts. Tillerson downplayed the outcome of the trade talks. "Quite frankly, in the grand scheme, the things that have been achieved so far are pretty small. Beautiful welcome." The trip comes as Trump faces the lowest approval ratings for a U.S. president in 7 decades, and with the one-year anniversary of his election Wednesday spoiled by big Democrat wins in state and mayoral votes. Xi, by contrast, cemented his status as the most powerful Chinese leader in a generation at a Communist Party Congress last month, when his name was inscribed into the Constitution. AFP Jim Watson. The leaders reviewed Chinese honor guards during the welcome ceremony on Trump's first state visit to China. A military band played the U.S. and Chinese anthems, ceremonial cannon fire erupted, and the two leaders reviewed a military honor guard just across from Tiananmen Square, the site of the Army's deadly crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in 1989. Children waved U.S. and Chinese flags at the two leaders, a day after Xi treated Trump to a tour of the Forbidden City. Emphasizing pomp over substance is the Chinese way. with President Trump. They think that the state visit plus treatment will impress him and buy China some goodwill. Bonnie Glaser, China expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, told AFP, Trump circumvented China's internet censorship system to thank China for the beautiful welcome in a message to Xi on Twitter, which is banned in the country. Both leaders say they have struck up a friendship since Trump hosted Xi for a plush visit at the billionaire's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida for their first meeting in April. My feeling toward you is an incredibly warm one. As we said, there's great chemistry and I think we're going to do tremendous things for both China and the United States, Trump told Xi. Despite the public bonhomie, Chinese history expert Sam Crane said the flattery will not have significant substantive effect.